This is Strong Fellow Podcast with your hosts, John, Christopher. Ready or not, here we are.
One of the most important parts about being an entrepreneur and running a small business is the ability to prioritize. Assessing your priorities starts with building a schedule for the tasks you have to accomplish. This involves categorizing tasks by the ones that are the most time sensitive and/or important to accomplish. When you make your schedule, it will be a list of things that are open items for you to handle. There are several different approaches on how you can structure your list of priorities, but the most preferable, in my opinion, is prioritizing by how time-sensitive the task is compared to the other to-dos on your list. I would structure the list in such a way where you assess what needs to get done first, and then jot down the second most important task, next the third, and then the fourth, and so on. By making a list, you are organizing the tasks ahead of you, which will make it less likely that you'll forget about an important due date, letting it fall through the cracks of a spotty memory. A properly functioning small business must be well organized, and a major part of that is complemented by a schedule. There are a lot of moving parts in a small business, and it is virtually impossible to run it efficiently if you're not organized or you don't prioritize what needs to get done. When constructing a business itinerary, start off by making a list of things that are essential to the day-to-day operations of your business. Now, when you're developing this list, you're going to want to make some key evaluations, as there are a lot of moving parts that can go into this. It begins with starting the list. So, when you have a multitude of tasks, you're going to want to factor a couple things. Number one, when it needs to be done, and secondly, how long it takes to complete. By determining these aspects, you'll be able to reasonably figure out where this particular assignment ranks in your scheduling itinerary. Also, as stated earlier, identify what's time sensitive, something that has to get done, and what's important. There can be a distinct difference between urgency and importance. A lot of people think these are two mutually exclusive concepts, but that isn't always the case. Everything that's important is not always urgent, meaning that while task A is just as important as task B has a deadline approaching sooner than task A. So you want to complete task A before starting on B. Third, be able to recognize which priorities will create the most value for your business. This will usually coincide with or has to do with generating revenue. This one should rank high on the list because all businesses live and thrive by a consistent stream of sales. Let's say you have a prospective business meeting with a new client or a contract. You're going to want to make sure your schedule is completely open to that meeting and be willing to accommodate the other party if they have to reschedule due to a conflict. Make it a priority to accommodate them, even if it means you have to adjust your own schedule to do it. Another thing you want to keep in mind is being flexible and willing to rearrange your list of tasks if necessary. It's always in your best interest to understand that priorities may change. Prioritizing is essential in running your business. What's more, it's that priorities are dynamic. Priorities serve both as indicators and benchmarks that help us gauge and shore up what needs to be done. Setting up an itinerary will help you establish your goals of what needs to be completed before a deadline or due date. This really goes back to structuring the business. Creating a proper framework wherein the business is modeled to run is as important as the foundation your company is built upon. Apart from being well capitalized, meaning you have money to run the day-to-day operations of the business, you need to make sure that the tasks that need to be done are completed in an orderly fashion. Due dates and deadlines are so important in the business world. I can't stress that enough. And the reason they're important is because it holds your feet to the fire, so to speak, and demonstrates to the customer your kind of service and representation as reliable. One of my side businesses is a safety products business, Dio Industries LLC. The company does the bulk of its sales on the major e-commerce platforms. So essentially, we sell and ship our products mostly between 2 and 3 business days, some products between 4 and 5 depending on availability from our suppliers. We hold fast to these standards of shipping as it calls us to be accountable for making sure our products are shipped to customers within when we tell them they'll be shipped out. The deadlines obligate us to keep our word about delivering the said products to our customers in a timely manner. Aside from delivering quality consumer goods, shipping them out and delivering it to them is just as important a priority as anything else. The more consistent you demonstrate yourself to be in this regard, the more reliable you'll be considered, which will most certainly allow for customers to be turned into repeat customers down the road. All entrepreneurs must take steps to be well organized and map out their priorities. This is all factored into running a successful business. Without having this in place, or with nothing less than your full commitment to seeing it through, you're going to fall short. Every part of your company's structure involves priorities. Let's run with a building analogy for a minute to keep things simple. You have your capital equity or financing in place. That is to say, your seed money that you started off with. You've done an adequate amount of market research. You have drawn up a well thought out business plan. You have all the necessary business permits in place to establish yourself. You have enough inventory set aside to sell. You've told people about your business before its grand opening. All these aforementioned parts are like bricks being laid upon the foundation of your business. Piece by piece, they're placed to form the structure. Your itinerary or list of priorities is like the blueprint of how, when, and where the bricks go. Listen, everything in business does not happen instantaneously. Even the quote-unquote overnight success stories take extensive planning. Without a strategy to manage priorities, the business will be hindered by a lack of planning, and ultimately that'll show in your overall results as the business runs. Speaking from experience and not as an expert, doing things without giving much thought to them is highly inefficient and can be quite costly. Acting on a whim rather than adhering to well-laid plans is a poor business practice to steer clear from. It's always best to plan ahead and not act on impulse or emotion. No good decisions can be wrought from intemperate dispositions or reckless decision-making. Once you have a plan established and your list of priorities figured, then take to task what you know needs to be done and accomplish the assignment according to your schedule. If you have to reorganize your list of priorities, then do so, being flexible as priorities can shift. But nevertheless, always have a plan in place and plan to adjust when the occasion might call for it. Another thing to be said about priorities is that you need to be willing to complete them with the same resolve you would with things that need to get done first and foremost, as well as the things that can wait. I say this because less important tasks on your list of things to do can suffer from less personal attention than the more important things on your schedule. While we are all susceptible and inclined to this mode, this, however, shouldn't be the case. It's important to remain consistent when working on any aspect of your business, as this will develop a great habit for you personally that will translate into the right attitude about working well. Prioritizing is an essential key in organizing your business in such a way where it will run efficiently and effectively. Go about establishing a schedule or list that maps these things out, these to-do items, and you'll already have a big part of the blueprint in hand that'll map out the success of building your business. Now, all that remains from there on out is to put your plan into action and getting it done. All right, everyone, it has been a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you for listening to Strong Fellow Podcast with your host, John Christopher. Big shout out to Kevin MacLeod, who provides our opening and closing theme. Be sure to tune in next time, and until then, ready or not, we'll see you then.